Okay, so now let's get to a spot where he talked about this next trip to China
Yeah,
and kind of working with some of the scientists over there when it comes to sports.
yeah. Meantime, we had gone through into Israel and Poland and Berlin and things like that in between. Taking a we were resting. We were resting. My poor wife, she said, "I can't believe I'm finding stuff that we did. We had no idea we did it." So 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 we're hanging out here. The Lord's leading me, and he's leading Tricia. We're doing a radio show, and we're starting to heal people. People getting healed of cancers. The government's getting upset. The government doesn't like it. The Cancer Institute doesn't like people. We got doctors. We got people coming in. We got Olympic athletes. We got professional athletes all coming in here. And I don't have any credentials, but they heard about the work that I was doing. So people would come and they'd bring their children to us. They themselves would come. Have people who are Olympic competitors and professional athletes. In the meantime, I'm lecturing to Alabama, Auburn, Columbia University, all kinds of places are happening. And, and so I'm also working with, I did a couple of lectures down in Alabama. I worked with Gene Stallings, the head coach down there, and Derek Latz and Jay Bach. They were all Americans. I worked with them before that season that they won the national championship. So all this is happening. In the meantime, I'm meeting these uh, handicapped powerless, and they're paraplegic. So I'm meeting some of these guys. Met a couple of them in Alabama. Met a girl from Birmingham and another guy from Tuscaloosa. And these guys, this guy, he's looking like 500 pounds. When anybody knows anything about uh, benching, you got to use your legs to support you, and balance and everything else. And he's doing 550 pounds, whatever it is. And so he and this girl are going to be competing in the national and the world championship. And this guy, also paraplegic, who I've been meeting with here in my office, was going to be competing. So the three of them are going to be competing in the world championship, which happens to be in Rhode Island. So coincidence, you know how God works. So in the meantime, the doctor from Beijing, she's down, uh, she's in the country lecturing down in one of the southern states. So she gets in touch with us, and we said, perfect. So we invite her, and we get a plane fare for her to come up and stay with us. So now she stays with us, and she's going to go to the championships with me and Trish, right? So we end up going to the championship. The girl wins the championship. She wins the gold medal. The older guy wins the gold medal. The guy from um, Tuscaloosa, he sets the world record and wins the gold medal. So I got three of the athletes beating all these people from all over the world. And the Chinese doctor's seeing this, and she's like kind of impressed. So next thing you know, she sends a letter telling Dr. Li from the Beijing Research Institute of Sports Science in Beijing. And Dr. Li is on the council of scientists, sports scientists, and he's in the board of the top. He's one of the top 7 scientists on this board. So he invites me to lead research there. So now our second trip to China is not underground, going through, hiding from the cops, getting stopped by the police, getting chased by them, having your stuff confiscated. None of that. We didn't have to hide behind bushes from the soldiers with guns. There were a lot of things that took place each one of these trips. We have all these little stories within the story, and so we get the invitation So I don't know. I don't know what to expect. So I packed up a bunch of products, my computer program that I wrote, and we head to China. We get to the Chinese port of entry with them at the entry, and all of a sudden we don't have to go through bag checks. We don't have to go through security checks. We're just like royalty, and the scientists take us and they bring us around all of the checkpoints and bring us in, and they put us up in the Temple of Heaven Hotel, which is one of the oldest hotels in the world. And the planet, I think, was made back in who knows when, 5,000 years ago. But we were put there. It's very nice, traditional Chinese place, and it's right on the east gate of the Temple of Square, the temple. What did I just say? The temple. So, so we're there, and this Temple of Heaven. So the Temple of Heaven, and so we're in a hotel right at the east gate. So that this becomes an important thing in the story here. So now we're at the Temple of Heaven Hotel, and we're staying. It's really nice. It's real Chinese, with the water fountains, the boat, the fish in the ponds, all that stuff. So the Russian scientists, the Chinese scientists, every day for 7 days, they came and questioned me. There were 4 or 5 of them every day. Would come and question me for hours, 4 or 5 hours. They would question me this one, that one. And I knew some of them were the secret police, some of them were scientists, depending on what questions, right? So while we're there, each day the scientists came, but each day different people came. The underground church heard that Jim and Trish were there. So this other girl, her name is also Dream. Dream is a popular name. So Dream comes with her friend, Christian friend, and her husband. Well, she's the only one, and maybe 1 or 2 others had some English, but she's the one that predominantly spoke English and did the interpreting from Tricia and I to the rest of them. So as we met, one day, Dream's trying to talk and explain some things to the rest of them, and then without any introduction, Dream's husband begins to speak English better than Dream. So nobody knew that this guy could speak English, and so he begins to tell us how this happened. And he says, now he worked in antiquity. He worked in the things of antiquity. Hold on. So he worked in the antiquities. And he and the people he worked with were called around the world when anybody wanted to have genuine Chinese architecture put up. Okay, so he was, but he would work alone with restoration, archiving the things that were found, okay? Archaeology. So he starts telling us that God told him to learn English. Nobody, not a man, and he didn't have any literature to learn English. He didn't go to school to learn English. He just said God told him to learn English. So he started learning English, and he said God told him because these people are coming, and they're coming from the east, and they will be coming, and you are to speak with them. And he said, the people I saw coming over the hill, coming to Beijing, was you too. And he specifically said it was Tricia and I. And so they said that's who he saw coming there. So in that time, we would spend time with them. During the day, we would spend time, because then I was invited to lead the research in Beijing Research Institute. So every morning, we would bike we went back to the institution, and we would lead the research, and we did the Chinese uh, wrestlers, we did the Chinese, the Mongolian judo, we did the weightlifters, Chinese weightlifters. So I did the whole study with them, and then at the end, I led the research that we did and lectured 200 scientists at that point, including the Russian scientists, and Tricia and I were the honored guests to the Russians and the Chinese. And so the Russian scientists were invited there, and they saw that we were the only non-communists invited to China to lead this research. So I got to witness things that the Russians were doing. They showed me stuff that they were doing with the German swimmers. They showed me stuff about how, now we got all these guns, these Atari guns that shoot things. They developed it. They showed it to me back then, and it was just incredible. So during the day I would do that. Then at night, Dream and her family would pick us up, and we'd go to a secluded place because it was too dangerous to hang around with us because we were probably being watched all the time.
Right.
So Trish and I would go with them, and they just wanted to hear about the Lord. So we would have a Bible study at night, all night long. We would be all night. It was incredible. And then so it was at we snuck in the first time illegally. We could have been jailed. The second time, we're honored guests. And God says it in what? Psalm 23. I set a table before you in the presence of mine enemies.
Yeah.
And we were the honored guests to the Russian scientist, Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee had me sit on his right, and I was the honored guest, and he would feed me. He would put on my plate what I was, he served me. In other words, that shows humility. He served me. I don't even have a degree in any stuff,
That's
amazing. King of Kings. Well, that's some of it. There's so many other things that happen. It's like mind-boggling,
It's amazing, and we'll definitely put in the story description the site where you can go. We've got it scrolling down at the bottom to dc1ministry.com because there's some amazing stuff on there as well.
I got to put some. I don't even know how to use that site anymore. Just go to it.
There's some great stuff on it. I can promise you that.
Yeah, I wish I could update it. So that's inkling of some of the funny games we had.
Oh, that's incredible.
Warsaw. We got so many things.
Next time we'll have to talk about Warsaw and some of the other places because they're pretty fascinating, and
that's fun.
I definitely want to get on it another time too to talk about how you got into the nutrition space. I mean that'll take a little bit, and I know that story is pretty amazing too.
Yeah, we kind of kept us busy.
Well, hey. Thanks for joining us on the Faith and Facts podcast, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoyed some of the stories, and we definitely look forward to having you back again sometime soon. And so have a great rest of the day, rest of the weekend, rest of the week, whatever it might be for you.